You are listening to the So Now What podcast with Lana Manikowski, episode number 156. So now what? These three words raced through my mind time and time again during my journey through fertility treatments. I tried desperately to have a child, but never was able. I yearned for a community to join that could understand my struggles. I couldn't find one, so I created one with the So Now What podcast. I love that you found us. Oh my gosh, I know I said this last week, but there is just like so much good stuff flowing in my life today. And when I say my life, it really means a greater ripple effect into the childless after infertility community. I had such a great conversation with a nonprofit that so many of you know, who has realized that there has been a void in supporting and recognizing women who leave their fertility treatments without a child. So many good ideas coming. I can't talk too much until everything's official, but let me tell you, shit's going to start happening. You are going to hear more stories about you and feel as though you are recognized and supported, not only by me, but through my efforts with other organizations and meaningful timelines that are coming up in the calendar. That's all I'm going to say. My book, thank you for everyone who has been voting on my back cover. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to my reels and you'll see 3 samples of a back cover for my book. I have to make a final decision by the end of this week. So if you're listening to this today, go onto Instagram, lana.manikowski, and just in the comments, tell me which one you like, number 1, 2, or 3, and help me decide, because this book is coming out on April 2nd. I'm also going to be doing a free giveaway of the book. So I'll let you know once my website is live to allow you to enter to win a free signed copy of So Now What. It's going to happen very soon. So once the website is live for you to enter, I will let you know so you can get your free copy of the book. But what I want to talk about today, if you, of course, follow me on Instagram, you might have seen a reel that I did over the weekend about how leaving fertility treatments without a child has prepared me for other setbacks in my life. And when I left treatment and I had that last conversation with my reproductive endocrinologist, I felt like there was absolutely no roadmap to what came next. There was no guidebook, there was no follow-up conversation. And for a long time, I blamed myself. And well, that's what I want to talk about today is this self-blame. And with us being on the heels of Valentine's Day on Friday, it's really important to figure out how to love yourself and quit blaming yourself for the things that have happened through your fertility journey. So the way that we turn inward and we point fingers at ourselves for why things didn't turn out the way that we hoped, and we put a lot of self-blame on things that we did wrong, is not helpful. I know that you've probably had these thoughts. I know that you know it's not helpful, but you might not have ever figured out or been given an opportunity to think about why this happens. So first, I want to ask you some pointed questions. Have you ever had any of these thoughts? If I would have just had a baby first instead of focusing so much on my career. If only I had gotten married younger. If only I hadn't been so picky about who I chose to settle down with. If only I had been off birth control sooner, or if only I hadn't taken birth control for so long or made different choices in my past. If only I had been healthier, if I had lost more weight, if I had made different lifestyle choices, things would be different. I hear these thoughts from my clients that I work with in Thrive After Infertility all the time. And I'll be honest with you, I associated myself with many of those thoughts for a long time. So if you've been carrying these thoughts too, I want you to know 2 things. Number 1, you are not alone. This is something that so many of us go through. And number 2, it's time to let them go. Okay. All this BS that you have been blaming yourself for is heavy. And when you carry it for too long, it begins to shape how you see yourself. You start withdrawing from friendships because being around moms feel like it's a reminder of what could have been if you made different choices. You feel a strain in your marriage because deep down you wonder if my partner secretly blames you for not being able to bear a child. And maybe you even blame yourself so much that you have nothing left to give in your relationship. You struggle to feel connected because you're constantly looking at a life through this lens of what I should have done differently. But I want to ask you, how does carrying this blame help you? Does it bring you closer to your friends? Does it make your marriage stronger? Does it create the fulfilling, connected life you want for yourself? Or is it keeping you stuck? And is it keeping you believing that your past decisions are now this permanent definer of your future without kids? And here's what I know. Okay. I just want you to hear this. If there's one thing that you take away from this episode, I want you to know that you made the best decisions you could at the time that you made them. With the information that you had, with the resources and the circumstances you were in, you did the best that you could. Could you have done things differently? Sure. But does that mean that you would have ended up with a baby? No. One thing that infertility teaches us is that this control or this vision that you have of how your life should have turned out is not reality. It is solely an illusion. You cannot control how things ended up. All you can do is put yourself in the active knowledge of where you are now. There are women who got married young and still couldn't conceive. Okay. There are women who never took birth control and still struggle with infertility. There are women who did every single thing right and still walked away from their journey without a baby. So if you're carrying the belief that you did something wrong, baby, just know if you're holding yourself responsible for why things turned out this way, I just want to offer you this message. It is time to stop pointing fingers at yourself. And at some point, you have to accept that this is how life is going to be moving forward. If you could have changed it, you would have. But this is reality. This is the life that you have, and this is the path that you are on. But it does not mean that you have to be stuck forever. And I've seen this recently on that reel I talked about with my knee surgery. My rehab, even though I'm freaking showing up like a mad woman and doing everything my doctor's telling me to do, my physical therapists are telling me to do, I started exploring alternative non-invasive treatments this week to avoid having another surgery in March if I don't get my knee moving enough. But what I have seen is that every crossroads you face and I face during this is a new opportunity to decide how I want to discover myself in moments of disappointment. I couldn't be more disappointed that I'm still dealing with this. Like, I'm 3 months into this recovery and I feel like I haven't progressed enough. But am I going to point my finger at myself and saying that I have not done enough? I wish that I had discovered life coaching much earlier in the game, because when I look back now, I see how many years I lived in that self-judgment of it's my fault. I have this body that doesn't work. I wasted so many years of my life sitting in silent shame, probably because, like you're embarrassed maybe about how poorly you think of yourself, that if somebody knew the thoughts that are going on in your brain, you would be like, oh my gosh, like, this is terrible. I would never want someone to know that my self-confidence and my view of myself is in the shitter. And like you, I kept it all inside, never wanting anyone to know how much my self-image had crumbled, but it had. And now I see that staying silent and judging myself nonstop kept me stuck. It kept me isolated. It kept me believing that my only choice was to carry this blame forever. And I don't want you to go through that too. And this is exactly why one of the 3 pillars in Thrive After Infertility is focused on relationships, not just your relationship with your partner or with your husband, because how you see yourself directly impacts how you show up in all the relationships in your life, in your friendships, in your work relationships, in your marriage, in your life, in relationships with your family. And when you're living in self-blame, you just don't blame yourself. You disconnect from the people who love you because you don't want them to know who you are and who you've become, because it does not feel good. You struggle to invest in your friendships because you feel like you don't belong. You pull away from your partner because you're carrying the weight of this was my fault. If they married someone else, they probably could have been a dad. And here, because they married me, they're stuck without a child. You feel stuck in the past and unable to create a vision for what's next because you're so busy punishing yourself for what didn't happen. But, my love, what if you saw things differently? What if you believed that you really did make the best choices you could? What if you decided to stop blaming yourself and start creating the next chapter of your life with the information that you have now on your own terms? What if you stopped letting your past define your future? And I know this isn't easy. Trust me, it took me years to figure this out. It took me having to create a coaching practice and having to do the work that I do and invest $21,000 in a life coaching certification to be able to come to you to teach the things that I teach in Thrive After Infertility. But let me tell you, this is not going to happen unless you decide that you are ready to let go. It does not happen overnight, but if you are ready to move through this, I just want you to know that I can help you. You just have to say yes to it. So if you're ready to stop blaming yourself for leaving fertility treatments without a child, let's talk. This is why I go blue in the face telling you about these Thrive calls. I offer them for free to help give you a roadmap. I just want you to know that there is a way forward, but you have to raise your hand or click the yes on my website or book the link on my calendar in order to give yourself a starting point to give up this blame. Because I want to help you move forward with confidence. I want you to stop carrying the weight of feeling that you did everything wrong. So schedule the Thrive call. Let's talk. Let's please just acknowledge that you did the best that you can. And as we near upon Valentine's Day and you're thinking about the love that's in the air, let the love for yourself be the love that you feel this Valentine's Day. I hope this episode gave you permission to release some of that self-blame that you've been carrying. If this resonated with you, share it with a friend who needs to hear it. And I think it's important to know that your story is not over. It's just beginning. So I hope you have a beautiful week. I love you. And remember that it's never too late to discover your meaning. I'll talk to you next week. Hey, real quick, I just wanted to tell you about an awesome resource I created. If you have ever found yourself in conversations with people, or maybe people offering you suggestions about what you should do to become a mom, it's called the Top 27 Things People Say When You're Childless and How to Respond. You can get your copy free at lanamanikowski.com/thingspeoplesay.